Hello, thanks for checking out my video. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about ways to use simple printout pages that we can find on the internet here. So I got this one from education.com. It was a free printout when I signed up for, I believe, a mail letter of some sort of newsletter. And I was able to get these tracing worksheets, and then I want to use them in just a bunch of different ways, maybe outside of tracing. So I can do that by incorporating different visual cues. I can do tactile cues with the glue. I can use my stamps that I had from earlier. I can use my stamps to then match. I can use these for a little worksheet for scissor skills. So I can be working on my scissor skills, and I can really be working on my fine motor skills if I want to be coloring them in. I can use just a variety of different techniques here to facilitate the development of a variety of different skills, all with just one piece of paper. So you can use this worksheet in any which way you like, but for me today, I think what I would most like to do is to develop some grip and pinch strength with a glue, a squeeze bottle glue. So I'm just going to use this Elmer's school glue, and I'm going to in fact trace the shapes, and then I'm going to color them in just like my worksheet suggests, except instead of tracing with a crayon or a marker or any other sort of writing instrument, I want to see I want to have like a little tactile result as well as a visual result when I trace, as well as develop my grip and pin strength. So it's kind of a fun way to use just some basic materials in a different way. And so today we're going to be using this glue as a writing instrument. So we want to make sure that our glue top is open, but maybe not all the way open, because then we'd have a lot of glue that comes out. So maybe somewhere in the middle. We can do a little test run just to make sure we get some glue. That wasn't quite enough, maybe a little bit more. There we go. So that's going to give us just the right amount of glue for our tracing. And then we can go ahead and just get started with the first shape if we want, or we can cut out our shapes here to kind of reduce the clutter in the visual field a little bit, and then it'll also reduce the surface area, and I will be forced to use my non-dominant hand maybe a little bit more coordination. So I'm just going to do this for me. You can leave your paper as is if you'd like, but I'd like to cut mine out. And then I will be working with a pretty clean visual field from left to right across the page. That's how we read and write. And I'm going to start tracing my shapes with my glue. By holding down my paper here, I'm going to make sure that it's stabilized and not moving anywhere. And then I'm going to be squeezing the glue and just tracing along these lines with my glue. And another thing we can do if we wanted to, we can use a highlighter pen before we glue, so it has a little bit of a visual cue for us to follow here. I'm going to go all the way around this way. And then I'm going to use my glue to trace around that, stabilizing the paper with my non-dominant hand. Oops, I have to reposition. And I'm going to go around the other way this time. reposition the paper, that's okay. Reposition my hand, this is all part of the exercise, part of the coordination here. And last one. And once I have the glue traced around my shapes, I can either move on to the rest of my worksheet and finish my tracing with the glue. I can finish my tracing with a pencil or marker or any sort of thing, or I can just go back in and fill in my shapes now. So I have this boundary here. It's kind of a physical boundary. I can either let it dry first, or I'm gonna use a marker, actually a crayon. I'll use a crayon here because I'm gonna be able to just wipe it off if I get some glue on it. But I'm gonna use this glue as maybe like a physical deterrent for my crayon. So I'm really gonna like stay away from the border there and just color within my boundary. And I'm really, oh, see I got a little bit on there, but I'm just going to be able to clean that right off and get back to it. And if it smears a little bit, that's okay too. So I'm really working on my fine motor skills here as I'm coloring just within here. And I'm kind of staying away from the boundary there because I don't want to smear my glue. But if I do, that's okay. So I'm going to move on to my next one. Continue to work on my grip, maybe a dynamic tripod grasp, or maybe a lateral tripod grasp, or even really kind of like a 4-finger grasp. That's okay. And we're gonna color that in. We have 2 more. And then I'm ready to move on to the next shapes. Put this out of the way and grab the rest of my paper. And then I will repeat the process. Now that I've traced my shapes with my glue, I want to maybe take a little bit of a break, do some proprioceptive play, get out and jump around, go for a run, use a trampoline, use any sort of bicycle, anything like that, to get just a little bit of a break going on before we come back to the table to finish the coloring part. And while my student was taking a break, I went ahead and cut vertically to separate the shapes out, not only to give us an opportunity to color the shapes different colors, but also really to free up a little space on either side of my shapes so that I can facilitate some owner stability as I color in my shapes. So I'm ready to color in the rest of my shapes, and I think what I'd like to do is add a little bit of extra contrast here because I had the white backdrop, so I'd like to add a little bit of extra contrast. I'm just flipping over a notepad that has this kind of cardboard back here, and then it'll also keep my table clean because I know some of this glue is bound to spread somewhere. So for the rest of this, I think I'd like to use a highlighter pen. It's a little bit of a built-up handle, I guess you could call it. It's just a little bit bigger in size, and it'll actually kind of just be easier for me to rest here in between my thenar web. So I'm going to use that and just finish coloring this strip with my yellow highlighter. And it gets a little glue on it, and that's okay. It just keeps on going. And I'm going to finish my triangle. I'm really developing some good radial precision here because I'm having to stay within these boundaries of the glue. If I start spreading the glue around, I'll know right away. I'm going to stay inside the glue. And I'm getting some good bilateral coordination with my non-dominant hand, stabilizing the paper again, repositioning to stabilize, and finishing the task. Now that I've finished the first strip, I'm going to take it and put it off to the side, grab another one. Maybe I'd like to switch colors here, or maybe I'd like to use a pencil. I think for this one I will use a different color marker, and I will proceed to color in my shapes. So again, you can use your tracing worksheets in any way you want. You can just regular trace them, you can color them in, but for today, I really wanted to use my glue container here to develop some graded muscle force, some good grip and pinch strength here, develop the lumbrical muscles in my hands, and also work on my visual motor integration using this utensil, or in this case the glue, and following along this pattern here. So any way you do it is going to be really successful in developing some great fine motor skills, some great visual perception skills, some good bilateral coordination by stabilizing the paper, and some great visual motor integration skills. Thanks for checking out my video. I hope you found it useful. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions on how to implement these strategies with your student.